Hey guys, Augiesaint here and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I want to share with you guys my finished off like speedy Shadow Mage minion Necro build. I know that's quite a mouthful. This is for general use on pretty much everything. I have seen so many different build variants of this out today, like in the last week or so. It's just everybody is playing minion Necro. There's so many different ways to build it. I find this is my favorite way to build it. And it is kind of a mix-up between Ponyhoff's build as well as Ruse Cruise's build. So shout out to those two guys, massive Necro guys. And they are fellow content creators over on Mobilytics. Shout out to them. This is like a mix-up of theirs with a little bit of my flair into it. And this is what I ultimately like the most. And with this build, I've been able to easily clear through pit 80+. The highest I've cleared without using Holy Bolts is a 99. Well, I could probably go a little bit higher if I wanted to. And then I just did like 1 or 2 runs after that with Holy Bolts, and we actually cleared a 105 very effortlessly using Holy Bolts with like 8 minutes left on the clock. So it is very high potential is there. It can go much higher, but I'm mainly making this as like a easy, very tanky and very fast kind of a build. So this can do everything in the game. This is what I'm going to be playing on my Necro now until I gear up my other Necro, and then probably going to build that one like a focus on a boss killing build of that one. But with this build, I have managed to do, like I said, the pits. I've done all the Uber bosses, no problems whatsoever. Duriel, we beat Duriel and Dariel. And then we also did, what's his name, Gregoire. And we have fully invested into Shadow Mages, as I personally prefer Shadow Mages over stacking the Golem. So I've gone and got Shadow Mage damage wherever I can. I think right now we're sitting at over 2k Shadow Mage damage, well, Mage damage. And then obviously we are using the Shadow Mages with Shadow Blight and all the aspects to go with that. So if you guys are looking for an all-round Shadow Mages build that just goes ahead and wrecks through everything really fast, I think we have like 170% movement speed on this build, then this is the build for you. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Now I do have the planner up on Mobilytics. I'll have this link down below in the description for you guys. Once the video goes up, this should be live as well, and then everything should update if I ever change anything. So let's hop into my skill tree. So skill tree, we just pick up 2 points, doesn't matter what you pick up. We just want to progress further down, point over there, and we grab 3 points in Hued Flesh for the damage. And this over there is just for essence, pretty much just to help us get further down the tree, as we need another point to get to this tree. And then we pick up Blood Mist, with this leaves a corpse behind every second, and we'll be using an aspect then that, you know, makes our corpse explosions and everything. So that's why we'll be picking up Corpse Explosion with the Blighted Corpse Explosion. This is a darkness skill now, it's really big. Lasts for 6 seconds, and when you blood mist with an aspect, it's going to eat your corpse explosion. So you don't actually use this on your action bar, so you just pick it up there, grab the points. And now this one of you has spiked armor. This you might have to play around with it. I would suggest putting all the points into it early on while you're gearing, because it's going to help you reach your armor cap. And then as you get better gear and you get armor rolls and stuff like that, you take the points out of here depending on, you know, how close you are to the armor cap. So if we go have a look at my armor, I'm at 9,633. I believe the armor cap is 9,230. So if I take a point out there, I can actually achieve the armor cap now. I think I upgraded something. And yeah, after I was actually writing the build guide, because when I was writing it this morning, I actually added a point to reach armor cap. So now it seems I can take that point out. And then what you do with that point is totally up to you. What I like to do with it is put it in a Death Approach to give you movement speed, but you can really put it wherever you want. As well as maybe this point of here, no, this one of here, this one is increasing your shadow damage. So I'm going to put it into Terror. Usually I think in the build guide on Mobilytics, I don't have points in there, as we have 3 points into spiked armor. So this, you got to play around with it. Make sure you hit the armor cap, 9,230. If you do, take some out. If you don't, put some in until you do reach that cap. It's very important. Then we go 3 points into Skeletal Warrior Mastery. And we're not focusing on Skeletal Warriors, but 45% damage for free pretty much, as you don't really have anything else to do with these points. And we go with 1 point in Grim Harvest just to get to Fueled by Death. It'll increase damage after consuming a corpse, and you'll be eating corpses all the time. And then that also goes to your minions, so extra damage, just free damage. Then we are picking up Death's Embrace for less damage from close enemies, as well as you dealing more damage to them. And then Death's Approach again is just movement speed. If you don't have the armor, make sure that you take these points out there and make sure you get your armor cap first. And then you can put the points into the movement speed. And then Skeletal Mage Mastery. As you can see, we have 10 points in here. It's very important to get this as high as you can, because this gives you a massive multiplier on your Skeletal Mages. And we have 3 out of 3 on Amplify to increase your damage against cursed enemies. We're running Decrep with the Abhorrent for the cooldown reduction. And then we come down to Corpse Tendrils with Plague's Corpse Tendril. This is our only real way of making enemies vulnerable. I really wish there's another way I could add vulnerable to the build, as when you get to the boss fights, the Corpse Tendril is not up as much as I would like it to be, but it's pretty much up all the time. You just have to make sure that you spam it. If you forget, then you'll have a little bit of downtime. But yeah, Corpse Tendrils, 1 point into Necrotic Carapace just to help you fortify, and that's going to proc a bunch of stuff in your Paragon Tree and some other things what you get while fortified. Then we pick 1 point into Reaper's Pursuit, really just to get to Gloom. When you deal damage to enemies with darkness skills, they take 6% increased shadow damage from you and your minions. So these two are the really most important ones of here, as well as 1 point in Crippling Darkness. Is just going to help you build up the stagger bar, because it does add a stun to your darkness skills. They have a chance to stun, and then your shadow mages can obviously stun bosses, and that will build up the stagger bar, as well as just normal mobs. Then these 2 points of here in Terror, like I said before, these are free points I had left over, so you can take those out and put them into the Thorns depending on what you need. So you got 3 points over there, Death Approach, and 3 points in Terror. So you can really put those into any of these that you want, or into the Spiked Armor if you do still need armor. Then we come down 3 points in Golem Mastery. Again, we're not focusing on Golem, but free damage and life for him, so why not? We grab Army of the Dead, and then we go with the Inspiring Leader over there just to give our minions some more crit strike. And then Hellbent Commander, another important one over there. You really want to try and get 3 of these on your 3 ranks to this on your amulet. It's very hard. It took me a long time. I found a suboptimal amulet, but for the moment it does have crit chance as well as Hellbent. Ideally I want some better stats than that, but the Hellbent is just so good. You do way more damage, multiplicative. When you stand near your minions, they'll get a massive damage boost. So make sure you're standing near your minions and giving them that damage boost. And then obviously we do grab Shadow Blight, as that is like how the build is built around shadow damage and Shadow Blight. So make sure you pick that one up. Now let's hop into the Paragon Tree real quick. I'm just going to skim through it, as this one's very easy to follow. Everything is connected. You don't need to like figure out which board goes where or which one to go first, as it's a very linear line. This board is based on Ruse Cruise's build, massive necromancer guy that pumps out great content for him. Massive shout out to him. So we pretty much just go up grabbing control in the first board, grab all the stuff for all res damage. It's just free damage early on. Then we grab the cult leaderboard. This is very important, is why you want to try and get as much attack speed as you can, because there's 2 different buckets, but mainly now just know this, very strong, get lots of attack speed. Then we grab Infused Caster for Skeletal Mages, as we're going to be focusing on Skeletal Mages. We do grab Dead Razor in the board over there, just for your minions to deal more damage. And this kind of works like Spain of the Stricken from Diablo 3, if you guys remember that. Whenever your minions deal damage to an enemy, that enemy takes 1% increased damage from you and your minions up to 15% for 10 seconds. So the longer you fight, that'll build up. Obviously it has a cap, but it pretty much works like that, as well as damage reduction for your minions and summon damage. So it'll give you damage to your golem, your mages, and your warriors. Then we come up here, grab a little bit of poison rays. The only real reason going up there is for the armor. So if you don't want to grab those points, if you've reached armor cap, you can actually go ahead and drop those. And then this board is the Flesh Eater board with the exploit glyph, just to help us increase some more damage on vulnerable. And then we path up to the Scent of Death board, putting in Amplify in there, just more damage, armor. Curse skills, when enemies are cursed, they'll take more damage from you. There's more armor, more int to activate this much easier instead of spending too many points. Just grab that, 10 free intellect over there, grabbing Scent of Death. And then we come over to the right, grabbing Bone Graft, and then we actually put the Essence glyph into there for critical strike damage to enemies that are not healthy. So it helps you push them down once enemies are under that healthy threshold. I believe it's like 50% or 30% HP, and then they become unhealthy, as well as some max life and armor. I wish we had all stat on gear so we can actually put some all stat and then get the willpower cap for this, because that would be massive. Another 4% max life would be huge, but it is what it is. So we move on to the last tree with Bloodbath and Undaunted. Now this is just damage reduction while fortified, as well as increasing your damage while fortified. And it will be fortified all the time thanks to Hued Flesh in the skill tree. So that is the skills and the Paragon. Alright, so let's cover the gear now. I think we'd much rather use the... Let's use the mobility, so we have to cover the gear, as these are the rolls you want to go for. The rolls I have in my gear is just what I could get. So on the helmet, you want to get Undying, or you could even get the one that makes your skeletal warriors do shadow damage as well as stun. It really doesn't matter what you put up in your helmet socket over there, as this is really up to you. Or if you do get yourself a Harlequin's Crest, you can go ahead and use that. It does add a flat 20% damage reduction to the build, as well as some cooldown. Main stats you want to be looking for on the helm is int, max life, and cooldown. biggest thing being cooldown there, and obviously max life int as much as you can get, doesn't hurt. And then for your tempers, you want maximum life as well as corpse tendril size. Moving on to the chest, you want to grab aspect of hardened bones for damage reduction on you and your minions. Massive, great, really good aspect. Pretty much used in every single Necro build now, as even if you're not using minions, you still gain the massive damage reduction. The stats you want to get on this is int, max life, and your skeletal mage mastery. I'm actually missing this one, so my mages could be even higher. I have mine at plus 10 right now. I believe on the chest you can get up to like plus 3, and then you can masterwork that and go up to like 5 or 6 to get a massive amount of damage from that. So we'd love to get that eventually, but for now we don't actually have that. And then moving on to, and again, the tempers, max life, and like I said, corpse tendrils or decrepify, whichever one comes first. And then we have aspect of explosive mist on the gloves. This one is going to actually proc your corpse explosions, and will also reduce the cooldown on blood mist, so you can spam this more often. Basically, you go into a big pack and you use that, and then it like puts corpse explosions everywhere. It's going to proc your dark damage as well as reset your blood mist, so you can go back into blood mist as you are fully immune to damage, CC, everything in blood mist. Makes it very easy to stay out of harm's way. Stats you want to get on your intellect, and very important, attack speed as well as skeletal mage mastery. You want to try and get as much attack speed as you can and skeletal mage mastery. Tempers for this one is skeletal mage damage, and then again decrepify or tendrils, whichever one you can get. And then moving over to the pants, you want to get the blood getters aspect. This will make your skeletal priests also empower you, and your minions will eat off of that because they obviously get what you get. You want to try and get intellect, max life, and again skeletal mage mastery on this. And then again, total armor is the one you want to get there, because you want to have at least one total armor roll, because it will help you reach your armor cap. But again, if you are armor cap, then put that to max life. And the utility temper, you want to go with your decrep or your tendrils. Moving on to the boots, we have aspect of the occult dominion, gives you extra skeletal warriors and mages. That's just flat damage increase, no brainer. In max life, move speed, and then for your temper on this one, you go move speed and then decrep or tendrils, whichever you get first. The weapon, we are using a two-handed scythe. The reason being, gives you a bit of life on kill, as well as it has a higher base damage than a sword, and your minions scale off of your base weapon damage. So either or, you can use what you want in there, but if you do find a scythe, that will be more damage overall. And the rolls you want to get on it's int, max life, and crit strike damage. And then the tempers you want on the weapon is skeletal mage damage, as well as minion attack speed. But if you do get the skeletal mages can attack twice, that one's also pretty good. Although I think the minion attack speed one might be a little bit better, as it does help you achieve the cult leader 100% attack speed much easier, as it gives you like a big boost. I think in game right now I have like 32% on that, so it's a massive minion attack speed boost to help you reach those breakpoints for cult leader. And then moving on to the neck aspect of the frenzy dead is what you'll be using there for the attack speed. And then really important, what you're trying to get on this one is make sure you get Hellbent Commander. That's almost so good you would take it over anything else. But try and get Hellbent and then attack speed and then cooldown reduction in that order. My neck actually has crit chance, movement speed, and Hellbent, but I do still have Hellbent on it, so it's pretty good, as that is a massive multiplier for your minion damage. And then the tempers, you want to get skeletal mage damage as well as ultimate cooldown reduction. You want to get this on all your jewelry, so skeletal mage damage and ultimate cooldown reduction. Moving on to the rings, max life, crit strike, and attack speed on all your rings pretty much, because attack speed, you know, going to help you get to that cult leader much faster. Max life for the increased survivability. You could go with intellect over crit chance if you get it. You know, that's okay piece. Don't throw it away straight away. But crit chance, eventually you want to get to that, as you can build up crit chance, and then you can get massive crit damage multipliers everywhere with your crit chance and your Paragon board and everything stacked up. And then the second ring, the aspect we're using on this is reanimation for more damage on your minions. And then the other aspect we're using, unyielding commanders aspect. This is for Army of the Dead active, will give you a massive 100% increased damage, as well as 90% reduced damage on your minions. So massive damage spike when you get that up, and this comes up really fast depending on the content you're doing. If you're in really hard content like put 95 plus, then stuff will start resetting really fast. Thanks to your Reapers in the Book of the Dead, going to reset everything, as well as your Decrepify with the cooldown reduction on that. And then for your gems, you want to use Emerald in the weapon, Ruby in armor, Diamond, or Skulls in the jewelry, depending on if you're close to Aure's cap. If you hit the armor cap, make sure you get your armor cap first, and then you want to focus on your Aure's cap. Another thing, we can go over the Book of the Dead real quick. So with the Reapers, they are bugged apparently, where if you choose this node, it gives you both nodes. This one gives you corpses, and then this one gives you cooldown reduction. But every time I've run, I was having it on this one, but I believe there may have been a hotfix recently and they may have fixed it. So I switched back to this one, and then I was seeing the cooldowns, but without it I wasn't seeing the cooldown. So maybe it's just mine that's bugged. Just make sure that you are actually getting the cooldown reduction if you are using the second node. But otherwise you could just play it safe and use the cooldown one now, and then just obviously, because I will fix this eventually. And then for the skeletal mages, we're using this one that increases your skeletal mage damage for each active minion. So I mean, this increases your damage, but then your damage gets leached to your mages. Or you could also use this one where they fire an additional shadow bolt, but I like to go with this one for increased overall damage. And then on the golem, we use the blood golem with the second one over here. Gives a little bit more damage and health and damage reduction. Or you could also use the first one that absorbs 30% of the damage you would take. So if you're struggling in much higher content, you could switch it over to that, as we really don't focus on our golem as a focal point of damage in this build. So you could take that if you are missing a bit of survivability, or maybe in the gearing up process, you can go that route to help you be a little bit more tankier. But I think overall, that's pretty much everything we covered. Main things you want to do is make sure you hit that armor cap at 9,230. Then you want to make sure that you hit your resistances cap. So 70 you need to put in your jewelry. Most likely you'll be putting in diamonds and then skulls once you actually reach that cap. I believe if I take this one out, I'll be a little bit under cap. So that's why we only have one in, and the other two are skulls. Our things are really nicely lined up now, but you will have to play around with this, like rolls on your gear with the max life as well as the armor there, total armor temper. Make sure you are playing around with that. So hit the cap, make sure you hit armor first. Then you hit your resistances, get as much life as you can, and then really important other stats is attack speed and minion damage on your mages. You see we're sitting at 2,213% damage on our mages. That's crazy amount of damage. And then attack speed bonus, we are at 32 over there. So unfortunately we're not hitting the second bracket over there. But then we do use the attack speed potion. These are the two potions I could recommend using. Obviously, Holy Bolts, yes, that is like the best potion to use, but it is broken and unintentional. So for proper build, this is what I like to use. I like to use the attack speed one, as well as this one that gives you max life. So when I put these on, I'm almost up to 50k HP, and my attack speed, we're almost at 50% by ourselves, and then our minions are at another 42%. And then if we did have attack speed on our neck, we'd probably be at close to 60% attack speed bonus. So we'll be going over the 100% at that point. As well as then maybe we could possibly drop this attack speed down to this damage one, and we can swap the damage one up to the attack speed, as it gets more value then because we have more damage and we're actually over the attack speed cap then. But that's much later in like gearing up, because my gear is actually pretty good. I've gone ahead and mastered quite a lot of this. So my gear is actually looking pretty decent, but obviously I'm missing some rolls that I'd really like to get. Like they are missing 10% attack speed. But that I think is going to cover it. If you guys have any questions, ask me down below in the comments. Join my Discord. Love to see you guys there, and I hope this build serves you well. You can go ahead and speed run through everything. I think pit 80s is like the best thing to go ahead and run, because it's like the nice sweet spot between not being really hard. You can just face tank everything in there. I mean, I can face tank pit 90 plus, so with this build and my gear currently. So 80 should be more than achievable, very easily and fastly done with this build. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you liked it. If you did, please drop a like and a sub to the channel. Helps me out so much, and I'll catch you beautiful people in the next one. Augiesaint out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the